Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 Shruti Sharma.
Hi, my name is Krishnan. I'll be doing the Hindi news analysis for the day. These are the 5 articles that we'll be analyzing today, and finally, we'll be seeing the previous year questions since prelims is around the corner. So, let us go to the first article straight away. So, this is about conducting urban local body elections in Nagaland. So, we'll see what the problem is. This is a very unique problem, that is problem between traditionalism and conservatism. So let us see what is happening. So these are Naga people, you might know, doing their traditional hornbill dance. So let us get into the problem straight away. So what has happened? The Nagaland government is facing contempt of court. Why? Because the Supreme Court has asked the Nagaland government to go ahead with local body elections, but the Nagaland government is not keen on conducting it. So what it has done, it has repealed the Nagaland Municipal Act of 2001. So why this act was repealed? Because it gave 33% reservation to women in local body elections. So what these people are telling, see, in Naga customs, we do not give women any decision-making powers. So this is against our custom. This is against our culture. So this 33% reservation for women is violation of Article 371A that has been given to us by the Constitution. So this is what they're telling. So on one hand, we have modern method which wants to empower women. On the other hand, we have traditional and conservatives who are telling that women should not be given decision-making power. So let's see how this issue goes about. So you see, why is this opposition to urban local body elections? Because Nagaland is the only state to have not implemented the clause 4 of the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. So what is the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act? That is urban local body elections. That is like panchayat in rural areas, we should have local bodies in urban areas. So that is the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. So what is clause 4? Clause 4 is 33% reservation for women. But what has happened? There are tribal bodies. They are called OHOs. So what they are telling, they are opposing this. They are telling this is in violation of Article 371A of the Constitution. So I asked you to remember earlier, right? So 371A is for Nagaland. Earlier we saw 371F, that is for Sikkim. So these are special provisions for few states. So 371A is for Nagaland. So what is this Article 371 is telling? That is, no act of parliament would apply to the religious or social practices of the Nagas customary law, religion. So whatever the parliament is doing, if it is against the Naga way of life, Naga social practices, it will not apply. So the OHOs are telling this reservation for women is against our customs and our religious practices, so we will not allow this. This is violating Article 371A. So what the hosts are telling, that women have not been traditionally a part of decision making bodies. So this is their main point of view. So has the situation always been like this? Yes. So the only civic body election that happened in Nagaland was in 2004. Back then, reservation for women was not given. And in 2006, an amendment was made to give reservation for women. And what happened? People started agitating, and there was violence. And what happened in 2012? There were efforts to conduct the election, but what happened again? There was violence. So the state government said we'll conduct local body elections, but without Article 243T. So what is this Article 243T? That is, it gives reservation for women in urban local body elections. So because of violence, they sought exemption from 243T. But again, what happened? The Supreme Court intervened and the resolution was revoked. So again, the state government said 243T will be applicable. Again, what happened? violence and properties were burned, and 2 people even lost their lives. So this has become a very serious issue in Nagaland. So again, what is happening? So the Supreme Court is telling you're not conducting elections, you're not giving reservation for women. What is happening like that? They are putting pressure on Nagaland state government. So the government has notified it. It is saying in May they will conduct elections, talking to all stakeholders. But what has happened? These tribal bodies and civil societies, they are all traditionalists, conservatives. So they are against giving reservation for women. So they are telling this Municipal Act of 2001 is a borrowed act. So they're telling this is not native or indigenous to the Naga way of life. This is borrowed. Like that they have told. So the government has given to the pressure of these people, and they have repealed the Municipal Act itself. So the government is telling, see, if the people are not interested, how we can force on them, how we can compel them to do certain things. So this is what is going. So what lies ahead? So there are some, they are willing to come to a middle ground. They are telling you have some sort of reservation, but make sure it is not violating Article 371A. Next, what they are telling, this reservation should be capped at 2 tenures. That is only for the next 10 years they'll have it, and they'll see how their things going. If the things are going fine, they'll have it, and if there are problems, they are telling we want to scrap it, and they are firmly telling the post of chairperson cannot be reserved at all. Only men can become chairpersons, and it should not be reserved for women. And what is the women side saying? The Naga Mothers Association. So they're telling the government is not consulting women at all. They're just listening to this apex tribal bodies headed by men, and they're taking all these decisions arbitrarily. But what has happened? The Supreme Court has pulled up the Nagaland government. So they are telling, see, you have to conduct elections with 33% reservation for women. So there's nothing doing about it. And the Supreme Court has categorically said there's nothing in this elections or 33% reservation for women that is violating either the Article 371A or the Naga way of life or the Naga customs. So it is not violating both. So this has to go on. So local body elections will be conducted by giving 33% reservation for women. Like that, Supreme Court has told categorically. Now let us move to the next article. This article is about a recent judgment that the Supreme Court has given. Experts call it a landmark judgment. So let us see what this judgment is about. So what the judgment is called? It is called the Media One case. So experts are telling this is a landmark judgment in upholding freedom of expression. And this judgment is also seen as a judicial fiat, that is a judicial restraint over the sealed cover malpractice. So what is sealed cover malpractice? So whenever a question is asked towards the central government, what they are doing, they are giving it in sealed cover, and not everybody can see it. Even those who are accused of wrong things, even they cannot see what that thing is. So only the judges can see it. So that is called sealed cover malpractice. So only if they know what is in that cover, only they can give reply, no. But they will not be told what is in the sealed cover. So this judgment is a very good thing because it has upheld the citizens' right to question the state. So and it distinguishes between government and nation. So just because we question the government, we will not become anti-national, right? So we can always question the government. And the judgment has criticized the state's arbitrariness. That is, whatever the state wants, it is doing, right? So that is called arbitrariness. And the judgment is telling the government is misusing its power, calling national security for everything. They are telling national security as the reason. Even if they give their judgment in, I mean, even if they give their point of view in sealed cover, they are telling nation security. How can everything be related to nation security? So the judgment has criticized these things. So this judgment is getting a lot of welcome because it comes at a time when a lot of institutions in our country is being destabilized and weakened. So this judgment is seen as a very good judgment. So basically, what you should know about this Media One cases. Media One is a television channel in Kerala. Their broadcasting right was taken off. So you'll have to renew your broadcasting right? When they applied for renewal, the government said, Ministry of Home Affairs said they can no longer renew their license, and they can no longer be broadcast on TV because they are national security threat. So the case went to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has defended the freedom of expression of Media One, and it said the broadcasting rights will be renewed for this Media One channel. See, before we praise the Supreme Court, we can say we can even criticize the Supreme Court, like that the author is telling. So why we can criticize the Supreme Court also? Because electoral bond is a serious issue, right? So the Supreme Court has not uh, heard the case, and it has postponed it. Next, with regard to dilution of Article 370, also it has not given a judgment that will uphold the freedom of expression. And in the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, there are a lot of draconian positions, and the Supreme Court has upheld it. And there's this activist called Sai Baba who is physically challenged. So what happened is the Mumbai High Court released him, but Supreme Court stayed his release. It said this activist will stay inside the jail itself. So he's physically challenged. He's old. He's got a lot of ailments, but still he's still in jail. So even though the Supreme Court has not stood up for freedom of expression at many times, but at least finally now it is standing up for the rights of people. So that is what the author is telling. He's telling the recent judgments are attempt to regain glory. So what happened in the Anup Baranwal versus Union of India? So earlier you will have chief election commissioner and election commissioners, right? So the appointment of election commissioner was sole domain of executive. Only the prime minister will decide. But what happened in the Anup Baranwal versus Union of India case? The Supreme Court said no, just this executive cannot appoint. We'll have a committee from now on, which will have Chief Justice of India, the Prime Minister, and the leader of opposition. So earlier, arbitrarily, the executive can appoint anybody it wants, but now it cannot do that. So this is actually a good thing, right? And what this Media One case has shown that judiciary still has the institutional capacity to stand up. So this executive or legislative should not have full power, right? So balance of power should be there, and judiciary is earlier we thought because of these things judiciary does not have the power, but now this Media One case has shown that judiciary will stand up if there is any problem. Judiciary will stand up. But why is this Media One case very important? Is because in the past we have had many landmark cases. What are the landmark cases? Bommai case, Puttaswamy case, all these cases were landmark. But what the author is telling, they just had academic value because Bommai case 1994, what the Supreme Court said, federalism and secularism, basic feature of constitution. But what was the Bommai case about? It was about dissolution of state governments, right? The central government kept dismissing state governments just like that. So that is why Mr. Bommai went to the case. So he said the central government cannot arbitrarily dismiss state government, dissolute state governments like this. But Supreme Court came up with basic features of constitution, but it did not help him at all. Why? Because subsequently uh, the government was dissolved and elections were conducted. So same with the Puttaswamy case. Puttaswamy case, right to privacy as fundamental right, very good. Right to privacy, we all need that. It is a fundamental right. But why did the case go to the court? It was because of Aadhaar. But what happened? The authorities had completed the Aadhaar exercise, and the judgment could do nothing about Aadhaar. So the author is telling even before we have had landmark judgments, but only in the Media One case, the judgment is also landmark and action was also taken. So this is a landmark case like that the author is telling. So what happened? Because in this Media One case, there was direct impact because of the Supreme Court verdict, and the Supreme Court asked the executive to renew the license, and all other doctrinal issues with respect to Supreme Court procedures were followed. Right to fair hearing was given, proportionality standard was maintained, and public interest in all these things were looked into, and a fair justice was served. So recently, through a lot of reports, what do we find is even in the global level itself, autocracies are trying to crush judiciary. So we saw what happened recently, right? Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he tried meddling with judiciary, and there was widespread protest in Israel. So same thing is happening in Bolivia. Judges are dismissed arbitrarily. So they wouldn't have done anything wrong, but they would just be dismissed because they wouldn't have heard to the ruling party. Same thing happened in Poland. What happened? Retirement ages for judges are being lowered. So because of that, what will happen? Old judges will go, and new people who are close to the ruling dispensation will become judges. So that is what it said here. Older judges were sent out, and newer judges. So these newer judges are loyalists to the government. So same thing is happening in India, like that. The report is telling. So how they are doing it? So there is a delay in judicial appointment. What will happen? The collegium will send a name. The executive will not accept it. They'll keep returning it, or they'll take a lot of time to appoint the judge. So in India, these things are happening, and the public abomination of judiciary by the executive. So what this means is, what happened? Law ministers, other ministers. So law minister Kiran Rijiju, he openly criticized the judges. So those things are very wrong, like that the author is telling. So he's telling the media one judgment is a very good judgment because it is judiciary's way of facing the majoritarianism. So experts are saying throughout the world only judiciary is being called upon to protect democracy. So whenever there's problem for democracy, people are going to judiciary only. So American jurist Mark Tushnet, he makes a very important point. He's telling for judges, constitution is important because it provides a structure for politics in judiciary. So politics means don't think it in a wrong way, office politics, power politics, like that. So this is in a good way. It provides a structure for politics in judiciary. Is telling only because of this the constitution is able to survive. So, but in this episode, what we should say is, the Supreme Court has done well to serve freedom of expression and all those things, but it did not take a plea by opposition party. So what the opposition party said, they said, look into all those cases against us. Arbitrarily, they're putting a lot of cases using central agencies against it. So looking against us, so look into it, like that. These people are telling, but what did Supreme Court said? See, these things and all, we can't do anything. This is about legislative and executive things. So you talk about it or bring a law or do something about it. Do not involve the judiciary in this. So this is what the Supreme Court said. So what do we finally understand about the judiciary? So judiciary still can put constraint on state. If you have any judicial problem, judiciary can take care. But if there is any political problem, what you can do? You need to start a mass movement or take risky electoral decisions, and then you can face this political problems. So finally, what the author is telling, if the survival of the constitution is very important, what should do? Judicial restraint should also be there, and political people who are standing for elections, they should also work in such a way that the constitution is protected. So judicial will do its work, but these people should give some additional support. Then only there will be balance of power between judiciary, legislative, and executive. So I hope you understood this. Now let us move on to the next topic. This topic is about civil war in Yemen. So let us see what is happening in Yemen. So why is it in news? It is, see, this war. This has been going for a very long time. So close to 8-9 years. This has been going on. So why is it in the news again? Because there are a lot of prisoners were captured in this war. So those prisoners have been released and they have been reunited with their families. So that is why this is in the news again. So let us see what happened here. So we all know this is Yemen. So have a look at all these places. They are all very important. So first, let's see, Gulf of Aden. Here, there's a place. What is it called? It's called Babel Mandab. So that is also a very important place. So and see Yemen's neighbors. Saudi Arabia is an important neighbor, and then you have Oman. So these are all very important places. You might get questions from these geographical areas in prelims. So what is the problem in Yemen? So this is a country in West Asia. So what is the problem? Two groups are warring there for control of Yemen. So one group is Shia youth Houthis, who are backed by Iran, and the other group is Sunni group, which is a pro-government force, and they are Saudi-led. So first we'll see how did the ceasefire happen. So the two sides decided to release around 887 prisoners, and more such releases are expected in the future. This is a good thing. So the International Committee of the Red Cross, it played a role here, and the people now think because of this there can be a permanent ceasefire. So they have been fighting for a very long time. So people there want ceasefire and they want peace to return. So in this article, you should know about Stockholm Agreement. So what is the Stockholm Agreement in relation to the Yemen crisis? So this was signed between warring parties. So who are the two warring parties? Iran-backed Houthis and Saudi-backed pro-government forces. So this agreement was brokered by United Nations. It has three parts. So first one is the Hudaya Agreement, next is the Prisoner Exchange Agreement, and the Teiz Agreement. So what is the Hudaya Agreement? That is only ceasefire agreement, and they are telling no military reinforcements. You should not bring in military from one part to another part. You should not increase military presence. That is what that's called no military reinforcements, and increase to UN presence. So we want peacekeeping force. Rebels and others fighting, their presence should go down and US presence should increase. So this is the Hudaya Agreement. So what happened in 2018? This was a very famous thing. Saudi-led coalition launched attack on Houthi rebels in Odeda. So this is a very important place. See it here. They might ask where is Hodeidah. So this place is very important. Next, this Aden. This place is also very important. Gulf of Aden they call it. So keep all these places in mind. And this Sana'a. Sana'a is the capital of Yemen, and Sada. This is also very important place. So keep all these four places in mind. And finally, we have the Teiz Agreement. So what does the Teiz Agreement talk about? Formation of a joint committee. So what this joint committee will have? It will have participation from civil society and the United Nations. So this is what this way this was in the news. Now let us see the history of the war. Why did the war actually begin? So this began in 2011. So it began in 2011. So it's been going on for like close to 12 years. So began in 2011 as a part of the Arab Spring protest. So what is the Arab Spring protest? It started in Tunisia. So all these monarchies and autocracies in West Asia, the people wanted them to be replaced by democracy. So during the protest, what happened? Ali Abdullah Saleh was overthrown by his deputy Mansoor Hadi. But after Hadi came to power, he could neither take care of the economic situation or security situation. So what did Iran do? Iran, it wanted to have control over Yemen. So what they did, they armed Houthi rebels. So Houthis are also Shias. Iran is also a Shia country. So that's why they are helping Houthis. So what happened? First they captured Sada and then Sana'a. So once they captured it, Saudi Arabia got angry because Yemen is a neighboring country and there should be balance of power. Power should not be tilted in favor of one country. So Saudi got angry because already they have problems with Iran. What problem? Geopolitics is there, and Iran is a Shia country and Saudi is a Sunni country. So all these things are playing a role. So next, what happened? Saudi Arabia, since Iran is arming Houthi rebels, Saudi Arabia and other Arabian countries armed the government and pro-government forces. But what happened? They are not able to throw Houthis. They are not able to defeat Houthis. So the war has been going for 12 years, but ceasefire has been there only for 1 year. So last year April they had a ceasefire, that too because of Ramzan. So they have been fighting for a very long time with only 2 months ceasefire. So if they've been fighting for 12 years, what would have happened? So let us see there. Humanitarian crisis is there, obviously. You can see people here, and 80% of the population dependent on aid and protection. So that is very heart-wrenching, right? 3 million people displaced from their own home. Healthcare, water, sanitation, education, everything has collapsed. Economic crisis is there, obviously. $90 billion were lost because of this war, and 6 lakh people lost their jobs, and more than 50% of the country is living in extreme poverty. So this is what happens when you have war and a war for close to 10 years. So more than 50% of the people living under poverty line. So this is what this article is about. So here you should have a look at these places. So Gulf of Aden. Uh, so where is Yemen? What are the boundaries? Where is Red Sea? where is hidden, what are the important cities in Yemen, all these things you should keep in mind. Now, let us move on to the next article. This article is about ISRO launching Singapore's satellite. So, when is it going to launch? It is on April 22. So, the Singapore satellite is called Telios 2. So, why is it called Telios 2? Because already Telios 1 was launched by ISRO only. So, generally, where it will be launched? It will be launched from this Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, and as usual, will be launched through PSLV, that is Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. So 55th mission. So already out of the 54 missions, 52 have been successful. So that is why PSLV is called the workhorse of ISRO. So TLEOS is a Earth observation satellite. So Earth observation satellite means it will be used for remote sensing and all those things. Next, this is the second satellite developed by ST Engineering that will be launched by ISRO. So already we saw earlier ISRO launched Helios 1. So Helios 1 was the first commercial Earth observation satellite from Singapore. So even though Singapore is a technologically advanced country, their satellites are being launched from India only these days. So where it will be launched? It will be launched into low Earth orbit. Why? Because only in low Earth orbit you can do remote sensing applications. So already 9 satellites belonging to Singapore ISRO has launched. So for PSLV C55, this will be third launch this year. So it's just April. So already they have done 2 launches. So this is what this article is about. But let us see about PSLV. PSLV is very important for ISRO, right? So when was the first launch? In 1994. It is also called ISRO's workhorse because for everything they'll use PSLV only. And is the first Indian launch vehicle to be equipped with liquid stages. So that is one of the unique things about PSLV. And this is the most reliable rocket. Like only twice it has failed, right? So it is the most reliable rocket. See, because 52 out of 54, it's its ratio. So that is why for everything PSLV is sought after. And even for Chandrayaan launch and Mangalyaan launch, Mars orbiter spacecraft, PSLV was preferred. So this is the structure of PSLV. Here you will have the satellite, whatever satellite that is going to be launched in the orbit. This is a very unique system of PSLV. First stage solid, second stage liquid, then solid, then liquid. So this is the fourth stage, solid and liquid, using fuel this thing. So using combustion, air or oxygen, these 4 areas will be combusted, and using this the rocket will go forward. So initial thrust will come from these 4 things. So this is how this PSLV works. Let us move on to the next article. So this is very important news regarding climate change. So what is happening in Kerala is because of heat wave like condition, uh, because of the summer, many districts in Kerala are experiencing heat wave like conditions. And if the heat is very high, what will happen? Rain will be there, but summer rains are also not there. So what is happening? This is very shocking. Livestock's fertility levels are going down. So their reproductive capability is going down. This is very shocking that this is happening because of climate change and increasing temperatures. And also their disease resistant capacity is also going down. So this is very shocking as well as saddening. So what has happened? Center for Animal Adaptation to Environment and Climate Change Studies. So what they have done? This was started by Kerala Veterinary and Animal Sciences University. So what they have done is they have started a program to study the impact of this thermal stress on cattle. So what will happen to their fertility? What will happen to their disease capability? All this they'll study in the upcoming days. So what experts are saying to farmers is when you are buying cattle, don't just think about productivity. Don't just think how much milk they'll get, how much food they'll eat. Don't just think about that. You see, if the cattle can withstand heat. So you see all those things and buy the cattle like that. Experts are telling to farmers. So what experts are telling? Go for heat resistant cattle. That is cattle that have high tolerance for heat. So, so only these breeds can withstand heat so that their reproduction rates will not be impacted. So, but what has happened in Kerala? More than 95% of the cattle are crossbreeds, and what is their problem? They have low thermal tolerance. Native varieties are better at tolerating heat because they've been there here for a lot of thousands of years. Because so they can tolerate heat, but these crossbreeds are not able to tolerate heat. So only their fertility levels are going down. So what the scientists are telling, if these things keep continuing in future, sustaining livestock farming will be very tough. So if their reproduction is impacted, what will happen? It will be very difficult for the uh, cattle to conceive. Then embryonic mortality will be there, and absence of heat symptoms will be there, and intercalving period also will be an increase. So what is intercalving period? The period between two different reproductive season, right? If calf has a if a cow has a calf now, after 1 year it should have another calf. But if the intercalving period is increased, what will happen? It will lead to a lot of economic loss for farmers. So the experts are telling the farmers to be very cautious. So what did the scientists find? They found that this year stress on animals visible. So easily they can see the animals are under stress. So, and what you're telling, if you are going for high productive cattle, not taking into consideration their nativity, high productivity cattle, they are highly sensitive to it. So they need extra maintenance. So to cool them down, to cool this cattle down, what farmers are doing, they're using wet jute sacks. So like this, they'll have wet jute sacks. So the farmers are telling this is an unscientific method and this will not help the cattle. So how did they find that the cattle are going through thermal stress? Because of it, they had rapid breathing. So they'll breathe very fast. That is how you know that they are having thermal stress. So this will happen once the temperature crosses 36 degree. And what these experts found is goats are comparatively resilient. But even commercial goats, when you grow commercial goats or goats that are grown in herds, even these goats are finding it difficult to sustain the heat. So what the center has done, they have set up a climate chamber and they have artificially adjusted the temperature. So with this, they are finding what are the type of emotional and psychological stress that the cattle is undergoing. So they have started this initiative, but what we have to know from this article is climate change is impacting cattle and livestock also. So let us go to previous year questions. So the first question here is ease of doing business. So who releases ease of doing business? It's a very simple question. It is World Bank. Next, who are Banjaras? Indian history in the medieval period, who are Banjaras? This is also a very easy question. They were traders. So let us go to the next question. Who of the following had deciphered the edicts of Emperor Ashoka? So who did this? This is a very important personality. It is James Prinsep. So Swadeshi and boycott were adopted as methods of struggle for first time during the it was used multiple times, but for the first time when was it used? It was used during the agitation against the participation of Bengal. So answer A is the right answer. So all these questions are very important. So that is all for the day. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video presentation, you can comment, subscribe, and share it among your friends. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Telegram, and Facebook. Thank you.